And now we do the share screen. Okay. Now, what I'd like to do is before I put any grades on these things, I'd really like to show you what the class is doing, and I'm pretty pleased. You all are working on your own interests, but I'd like to go over what you're doing so you can all see the various things and maybe how you could focus a little better in some ways. So let's do it. Right off the bat, Maddie does Huntsville, Alabama, and why do they have all those tornadoes? And the question is there more tornadoes? Are they getting worse? And how does climate change fit in? What is the science of Tornado Alley? And I think that's a really good one. And, good paper, and that'll work. Again, the big thing is a good focus, not like all tornadoes everywhere, just one area and it's specific. So that's really good. Okay. And for Sky, yeah. Freetown Waste Management of Nigeria. Again, a specific thing. Talk about what's happening there, viewing YouTubes and articles. Let's us produce the articles. That's the point. This is why I want the media plan a week from Monday, is to see who's your audience, what's the point of the plan, and what media are you going to use. But it's a good, again, focused topic. Okay, Morgan, yay. Okay, carbon emissions is a pretty broad topic. That's the issue here. Are we talking cars, coal? Carbon emission is huge, and I think it needs to be focused down. Again, what about carbon? What producer of carbon emissions, and are you going to produce a media kit or a paper on the media issues? But the key here is it's carbon emissions is just really broad. Gavin, I like his. All right. Podcast on water quality in the Mississippi River Basin. Excellent. I worked in Memphis, by the way, for the Memphis Commercial Appeal, so I know my way around. And I remember Mud Island had this like living map. The problem is podcast alone doesn't do it. The idea is, again, podcast, one of many things. Where does the podcast fit in with the bigger the bigger picture? You can, so it would need, again, that's why we want to have the media plan. Who's the podcast for? What is the point? And maybe a couple of more pieces to supplement the podcast. Again, press release and an article, something about it to back it up. Now, are you going to launch? For example, are you going to launch the podcast? If that is your, if that's the media mission, if that's what you're trying to do, is introduce and get listeners and downloaders, do a press kit for it. introduction, press release, little background article, and then a couple examples of the podcast. So that's doable, but we need to put it in the broader context. But no, this is a good thing. Religious attitudes and environmental guilt. That is interesting. Now, again, this is just a big topic. It's more than just a little, it's just a little broad. Environmental advocacy in what area? Pollution, climate change, wildlife. Get a little bit more narrow. What environmental issue and environmental guilt? We really need to define. Is it guilt from the environmentalists trying to make religious people feel guilty? Do religious people feel guilty themselves? I don't know. So define the problem. That's what this is about. What is environmental guilt? Who's feeling guilty? And maybe some possible solutions. So it's a little broad. Let's get a little bit more focused, but it's a very interesting idea, particularly since we're in the Bible Belt. Okay, research from the insect effect, which is very true. Insects, because of climate change, are dying. We're losing a whole species. Other whole species are moving. Pine forests in Pennsylvania are all ate up because of the pine beetle, which used to be down here. Warmer weather, they're going north. So yeah, the insect effect overall, but again, a little bit more focused. Which effect? Is it spread of more insects, different kinds? Is it die-offs? Is and then, okay, have been stigmatized in the media? That's a separate article. This is really two articles: climate change on insects and the way they're represented in the media. Two different things. So choose one of the projects, and when you talk about the media, which media? I mean, in the movies, there were like giant grasshoppers in them, and so there was also giant ants in another movie. So movies versus commercials. Again, focus on a given medium. See, this is what I'm doing it for all of you. Research paper, how vaping and vaping and plastic pollution. That's really good. But focus on the environmental issues left over from vaping. That's really interesting. So I'll just leave that as is. Media effects research. Media surrounds influence of news frames on perceived credibility and belief change. Now, so are you going to do a research paper or a media plan? How media affects research? Okay, now media effects research is really broad. Media effects include, you talk about framing. There is inculation. There is agenda setting. There's lots of effects. Does it make people, and affecting whom? Are you talking about how media affects researchers? So again, let's get a little bit more specific about what do you mean by media effects, and again, which media? Is it news media versus movies? They have different effects. And does it affect one kind of research more than another? So again, get a little bit more focused. And once you have a focus, then you could do the media kit for a researcher, a research project. Find one. That would be a good one. 5G. Okay, I guess that's what he's talking about. I'd like to see a little bit more. So yeah, what are the effects of 5G? We have Australia here. Are they going to be different from Australia to America? What environmental effects are we talking about? Are we going to be generating more pollution? Is it going to draw more energy? Is it going to affect us physically? So we really need to get a little bit more specific. Waste management. Oh, that's a good one. I have friends on Signal Mountain. Very specific, good waste management and the public. And Lord knows the waste management people need help. So yeah, again, define who you're talking for and to. Are you talking for waste management, or are you taking a more critical point of view? Again, and then say what you're doing in your plan, and then mention which who you're talking to, which media, TV, newspapers, news story, press release, maybe a podcast. So this is a really good one. We just need to get a little more specific. Okay, podcast is one thing. So put that podcast in perspective. Right, as I said about an earlier one, about the podcast itself. If you're launching the podcast, that's a good project in itself. Say, okay, here it comes, news story, press release, social media, and an example of the podcast. So again, get a little bit more specific, but it's a really good idea and it's a good topic. Okay, younger generation. You see, this is again kind of broad. Younger generation, which younger generation? We have, little kids. We have Gen Z. We have high school people. We have college people. There's lots of different people that we need to focus on. So find a specific group. Who are you representing? Are you representing a government agency, or is it just yourself? Okay, age range 15 to 35. That's broad. Urban, rural, black and white. Get a little bit more focused. Tips on everyday products. Again, use a press release, a news story, a podcast, social media plan, what social media you would use, but really focus on who you're talking to. This is a big group. We're talking high school to young adults. And within that group, you have a broad, real broad demographic. And it's different with men and women, or college and high school and young adults. So yeah, all of those. And again, recycling, energy consumption, those are different ones. Young people and recycling or energy consumption, those are two different topics. So again, different topics, pick a group, but no, you're definitely in the ballpark. Okay. Political polarization is a good one, and climate change, again, good topic. Narrow it down. Political, and climate change. What about climate change? Climate change as presented. Okay, are we doing surveys. I'm, thinking out loud here. Yeah, again, we're talking about I remember that movie. Um, so what about it? Has that contributed to the division? And this is also sounds like a more of a personal viewpoint. Look at studies, statistics, get some really good sources on how left and right look at it differently and what media has done. And again, pick a medium, pick TV. We talk about movies and climate change and division, television, advertising. They're all different and they're all a different paper. So, broad idea can be narrowed down. Okay. Again, overall, I really like where you are. And so they're good. Now you have an idea. For those of you who are a media plan, give us a media plan. If you're going with target audience, mission, and what media are you going to use and how? Now, for those of you doing a paper, I'm sorry, I got to treat you fairly. Give me an outline. Give me an outline and a bibliography. I will add that to the assignment today. I want the media plan, but if you're not doing a media package, that's just kind of silly. So you can give me an outline of your paper and 3 sources. And that'll help me see where you're going and where you're going to focus. So, and I will tweak that in a second and do the announcement thing. Speaking of which, okay, the plan is due 30th. I'll even do that right now. And if you're thinking that, gee, this guy's making this stuff as he goes along, yes, I am improvising because I am reacting to where you are in this class. To outline of your project plus 3 good sources. Okay. So, and I will put that in. Oops, those are my dogs. Medical records, they're going to be staying in the, okay, Oh, okay. Now we will get to this week's assignment or this week's thing. As I mentioned, in the announcement, I'm not asking you to produce videos. That is just a little software and technology intensive for this class. I think that's just a bit more technology than we need. But if you use pictures and videos, here is just some little guidelines. Okay, visuals. They will help any presentation you make. Remember, print and online presentations are visual media. If you remember, when we did the press releases, the look made a difference. Visuals add emotion and information, and they give you personality. If you're doing the podcast, yes, it is vocal, but put a couple of pictures of either yourself or your subject along with it, so that'll give them a little bit of personality. kinds of visuals. Okay, photos more than anything. Don't be afraid to make them large. People really see big photos. Maps. This Tornado Alley. Tornado Alley can use a map. So things like that. Videos. We'll talk a little bit more about video. Short videos, keep them really under 2 minutes. Most of the time, you only need 1 minute. Typography is part of it. Make your headlines big, like we did in the press release, and links to other sources. Illustrations, drawings too. Okay, graphics. Different kinds of graphics. Timelines. This is really good in this class. Timelines of how things developed over time. Graphic, a how-to. Tables and charts. Tables to organize information, bar charts to show relationships, pie charts, part of a whole, and line or fever chart, things that change over time. Ooh, bad visuals, things to not do. Something out of focus, too busy or distracting, lineups, bunches of people, and you'll see this in a lot of things where people are all lined up if you're getting an award or something. No. Use a headshot of the person getting the award. Empty graphic, meaning just a dollar sign or dead fish. All right, so what? Put it in some sort of perspective. Make sure your visuals relate to the topic. Environmental fallacy. Things that really can be misleading. For example, most car accidents happen close to home. Now, does that mean we're more careless close to home? That we live in dangerous places, or what? Anybody who's here? Okay. Car accidents are close to home because that's where we drive most often. I'm mostly, from my house to the office is 10 miles, and I seldom, for weeks at a time, don't go farther than that. So, of course, I'm on lookout. Sometimes I don't go days without going farther than Food City and St. Elmo. So I am close by more often. Therefore, there's more chances. It has nothing to do with my driving. So those are things to worry about. Distortions of scale. You can make something big or small, depending on how big you make the scale is. Be careful with that. Okay, plan visuals before you reported. Yeah, think of right now the kind of visuals you will use as you start doing your planning. When you're doing interviews or looking up something, make that part of the process. Getting more information than you need, visualize the product before you start. Visuals and type. When you have lots of charts and graphs, have one dominant element, usually a picture or a headline. Text keeps the text together. Don't put text here, text there, all over the place. Wrap text around visual elements. Labels, captions, clearing are consistent. Always use the same typeface for headlines, different typeface for body copy, and use the same font within the visuals for, again, same font for body copy, no matter where it is, different font for headlines, but make every headline the same. That's what I mean by that. Make sure they add from the story rather than detract from it. Basic stuff. I have here a little bit more that I have fun with. Is storytelling. Biggest thing that people like in, and especially for your podcasters, you could, where'd it go? Where did that go? Okay. Okay, here it goes. Okay. This is in PowerPoint. Power. Sure, I have PowerPoint for some. Actually, it's a PDF, so it won't go as a PowerPoint. Anyway, one slide at a time. Photos and storytelling. I'll make it a little bigger. There it goes. One per screen. What makes a story? Okay. 10 years ago, I had kidney stones. They hurt. I can say it. But look what a visual does. There's a real kidney stone that I fished out of the toilet just for this presentation. You can see, and there's even a little blood on it, how that would hurt going through your ureter. You say it, but that really says, okay, stories give you information. This is going to be a story about bluegrass concert. And emotion. Here's a happy person, these unhappy people. Interesting that it looks like they have a relationship and he's spiffing up and she's not happy. That's not what's happening. What's happening here is this is in front of the courthouse in Derby, Connecticut, and I was a photographer. And they didn't like, she didn't like me taking her picture, so she hid her head. He was spiffing up for me to take his picture. But when I saw them together, I thought that made it look like an interesting story. And I use that in photojournalism as a test to say, okay, what's the story here? Remember, your visuals can help you control the story. This is Mother Goose during a Mother Goose Day in Portland, Oregon. Okay. Sunlight through the clouds ain't much. You need both emotion and information. You need something else to tell a story, usually two things. Sunset over sunrise through the forest or over a city, or rising or falling over a mountain. Trees in the afternoon, yes, they're just trees. What else do you need? A squirrel, a deer rubbing its antlers, a hunter shooting the squirrel or the deer. You need something. Storytelling is about relationships between subjects. This is what I'm talking about. Go up here, relationship between subjects. This is Pirate Day, and here's there. This is a special. This is a Make-A-Wish kit, and I took that picture. I was crawling under on my belly to get that. It was in the Portland Oregonian. Subjects in their environment. It looks like, yeah, he's in the wheelchair and it's an uphill battle. Subjects and artifacts. I will have a video on this shortly. Visuals provide a sense of time and place. She's right by the train station in Boston. Interaction with environment. My favorite one here is the woman going, hurts. That sounds bad. How artifacts are used. See, use it. Okay, this is what I really want you to think about if you're doing a video. 4 shots to remember. Medium, to give you perspective, this is what's going on. Wide, to show where it is, a faraway shot. Close-up, see a little close-up, and then extreme close-up for details. If you ever see a news story on television, they often have a close-up of somebody scribbling notes, that's to give you that particular shot. So have medium, wide, close, and super close vary your shots in a video, and you'll do good. Don't get too busy. Again, subject is never about the scene. It's about her and the scene. She's kind of lost in there. What about the scene is interesting? You can almost hear it when you see that person, and it doesn't sound pretty. Make a dominant element stand out in any shots. See, she's bigger than the people. You start here, you see this and the other kid looking in. It's a good picture. Oh, avoid posing. I like this picture. See, in real life, this person, she's done some modeling. In real life, she is tattooed all up her arms and onto her neck, onto her neckline. She's full O tats. She is not like the person she's posing as, and that's just it. When you're posing, everyone looks the same. It doesn't tell you anything. Have somebody doing something. Sequencing for a presentation, and this works in, this is a really good one for PowerPoint presentations. If you're doing some communications on a topic, those of you doing a media plan, if you're doing videos or PowerPoint, here's sequencing, ABCE. A for action, B for background or detail. Most of those of you who've taken some of our journalism courses, this is your lead, visual lead, this is what it's about. Background is most of your presentation. You know, it's okay, so here it is, here's about it. C for climax or turning point. Despite all this, doesn't sound good. Action or reaction. Think about that. Think about the big thing, and then an end. They all go away. Okay, now I have cut and pasted, I hope I have, the original here. Here it is. There you go. Action. Here's the thing. Here is what she does.
Any requests? This is Benjamin Franklin's blast harmonica.
Background.
A musical instrument he invented in 1761 based on the principle of rubbing a wet finger around a wine glass.
Those of you doing podcasts or whatnot, you start with the soundtrack and you lay the pictures over it. So I just have the sound of her little thing for a minute, and I'm laying photos over it. Could be moving photos, they could be stills. I'm using stills. This is all background. See, there's where she is. You'll see the 4 shots. Here's a medium, medium, medium. Close up of the same thing. Now, think of a climax. See, I'm thinking of a climax here. And the end. Okay?
Oh, that's very nice.
The applause or the climax. Climax or turning point. There it all is. It works. Applause. That's all you need.
I think it needs a little work.
It needs a little work. That takes you out. So that's a real nice one. I have a couple of them here.
Thank you so much. We've never been
Here's that Bluegrass Monday.
to Fairview, Arkansas, what a nice town this is. We are the Manchester family from Carbondale, and we just learned a couple of songs to sing for our church.
See, they sing for their church.
And somebody else ended up hearing it, and one thing led to another, and
Okay, far away shot.
here we are.
And you know, there's just something special about when families sing together, and we've got a great one here tonight. They from Carbondale, Illinois. Let's welcome the Bankers Band.
Close up. This is funny. That's her husband. Here's dad. You can almost see. You know, dad doesn't like this. Okay, super close. Super close. Super close. I wanted to get the French nails on the bass. Super close. Okay, climax. Climax or turning.
In my experience, I would say it's as big a night attendance wise as I have ever been to. We've had bigger, but I can't remember when.
See? Turning point. Yes, here they are, but boy, it's a big show. And it doesn't have to be dramatic, but that reaction is a good turning point. Okay, and you see, and then the applause takes you out. So think about the sequencing and the different shots if you're doing video and photo. And that also works in PowerPoints or other presentations. So, you know, getting a little ahead on how to do this, think of your visuals in your media kit, pictures, videos, including for your podcasts. And again, those with papers, let's give an outline and give me a little bibliography. Okay, so you tell me, any questions? Sounds good. Think we're done for this week. Have a lovely break, and I will see you next time.